Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engine. Today we're working on an Efco 156 chainsaw. Funny story, this is my saw, and I was using it cutting firewood yesterday. I was cutting a big piece of pine into logs to split. I just got done cutting a piece of wood, and it was idling and it just stopped. And I mean, it is stuck. And it's always been well taken care of. Always had oil and gas mixture in it, so we're gonna tear it apart and see what's wrong with it. So I hope you enjoy the video. It's always a good saw. Had it for six or 7 years now, and not one problem with it. There's sawdust around here, but that's the air filters. This is where the air goes in the carburetor, and that's nice and clean. Let me go ahead and blow that out so we don't get no sawdust inside the cylinder. Let's take the plug out here, see if that can tell us anything. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. There's aluminum filings all over it. I'll dump the gas out in the bucket. I'll show you how oil in it. I just can't believe that. Yeah, plenty of fuel oil mixture to it. That just kind of puzzles me. It wasn't even a hot day. Well, next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the muffler off. A bucket to put all my nuts and bolts and screws and everything in there. I gotta take this top cover off here, it looks like. Never had this saw apart before, so we gotta take this recoil off so we can get that top off. A lot of sawdust around the coil, but all the fins to keep the motor cooler nice and clean. A bar oil, we'll just roll around and out. Making a big mess here. I'm gonna dump that bar oil out in the bucket here. There we go. Don't make quite as big a mess as I'm making right now. Got a couple screws way inside here. It's like they're Allen head. Okay, now we can look at the piston. We gotta fold this. Unplug the on-off switch. And we'll blow out all this sawdust around these 4 bolts right here and pop the head off. Thing is stuck in there. Holy cow. I gotta unhook the intake. Hose there. And hook the suction hose here. That's what I don't get. See how nice and shiny it is in there on the crate? That's all oil film. So you know it's got plenty of oil in there. I just don't understand that. Let's try pulling that. Oh, that cylinder's stuck on that piston. Well, I guess I can't do much damage to that head, being the head's already ruined. If I pull a little pressure on top of it or something. There we go. Well, the cylinder don't look too terribly bad. I think I know what happened. Looks like the metal or the aluminum between the rings broke out of there. See here, the rings broke. We popped this piston off here, but there's two rings on here. And there should be a piece of the piston in between them, and that's all broke out. So maybe it ain't as bad as I thought. Maybe all I have to do is buy a new piston for it. Yeah, that had me worried. We always work on something to score it. My first assumption is, yeah, they didn't have enough oil in there. But I know that ain't true on me because I always make sure I do that. Well, you tap that pin out of there. See the sides of the piston, they're not scored or nothing. See, there's part of the in between the two rings, and it's gone. From the way the black is in there, it must have been like that for a while. Because it ran good as that high RPM, just cutting that log up into chunks. I could split it, and is that idle when it happened? That's just crazy. But anyways, it's past closing time now anyway. I'll get these parts ordered tomorrow, and we can get this bad boy put back together again and see if it runs. Okay, it's been a couple days since we worked on this. And I got the new parts for the saw. I decided to go with the new cylinder head too, because I talked to the people at the company, and they said there might be something like around here that caught them rings to break that center spot. So I went with the new cylinder kit. When it comes to the new gasket, new piston, rings. So we'll go ahead and put it back together again. It don't come with a decompression button, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this one off here, put on this one, because in here they just got the bolt for its place, but that decompression thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray some carburetor, clear it off, and take it off. I'll be right back. Okay, now we can put that decompression button back in. Make sure that's nice and tight. These holes lined up here. There we go. I'm probably gonna put a little gasket sealant on that so it don't spin around, because it only goes in one way, because there's a little hole right here. That's for that primer for your carburetor that makes your diaphragm work. That's this little brass little stem right there. So I'm just gonna put a little gasket sealant on that just to make it stay, so we know exactly where it's gonna go. Then we'll put our rings and everything on, and we'll install it on the motor. So put a little gasket seal on that so it don't spin around. Okay, now we're gonna put the rings on here. I got the bottom one on. See, there's like little pins right here, and these rings have that little bevel on them, and that goes around that pin. So when it squeezes together, see how that bevel goes right around that pin there, and the pin's on the top. So we put the bevel on like that. You gotta be careful so you don't break these. Just like that. And when it squeezes together, that goes around that pin right there. And when we put it in the cylinder head, you gotta be really careful. So these are lined up. You don't want it going like that there. There's a couple different ways to put these on here. I'll show you the saw here. A lot of professional shops, they have these, like, I call them forks, but it looks like this, but it's made of wood. It slides in here like this, so the piston sits flat. But for the person that's doing this at their house, I don't see why you have to spend all that money on stuff you probably only use once. And there's another way of doing it, is putting this on the piston rod, because there is like a little taper. So when you push this in, the rings squeeze in there. But the way I like to do it, some people might laugh at me, but I've done this for years. But we're gonna put, like, the arrow goes towards the exhaust. So we're going to go ahead and put one of these keepers in on this side over here. Took me 5 minutes to find this doggone thing. So the arrow points towards the exhaust, and I'll put this in on this side here. There's like a little groove that it goes in. So what I do is I'm going to put the piston in here just far enough so I can put the rod in. That way I can watch these go in, so I know they're going in straight. I'll stick it in here, and there'll be enough room so I can push that pin in on the crank. That's the way I like doing it, but a lot of people like putting the piston on the piston rod and pushing this down on there. That's fine too, but I just run it, especially 2 or more rings. The one ring one, the best way to do it is put it on the piston rod, then push it down. But when you have more than one ring, I like watching them get lined up, both of them, when it goes into place. If that makes any sense. Well, there's more than one way of doing this. This is just the way I like doing it. You can never use too much WD-40. WD-40 is your friend on this. So here's your intake. Here's your exhaust. And you want this arrow towards your exhaust. So we'll find the pin here. Okay, the first ring's in. Now we'll line up the second one. See how much that moved just in that little bit of time there? Let me get my little scraping rod here. That's how easy them rings turn. That's why I like doing it this way. Because that way you know them rings are in there perfect. We'll just take this and just spin this ring around until we find that pin. And the pin's right there. And there you go. Now I know both pins and the rings are all lined up perfect. And I got that this in far enough. So when we slide this on the motor, I can slide this pin in on this side here and it will get locked up, if that makes any sense. That's the way I like to do it. There, like I said, there's more than one way. One ring, putting it on the rod, then pressing the cylinder head on is fine. But when you're dealing with more than one ring, it could be a pain in the butt. You don't want to tear it apart again because you scratched the cylinder wall up. So, okay, move some of this stuff here. Okay, make sure you blow out your crankcase really good with some air. When we got that gasket on there, we put that glue on the gasket, so that's going to be lined up. Get your rod bearing right here. And I like using that white lithium grease. Get a little bit sprayed on there. Go ahead and install it in there. Put a little WD-40 on that. Just get it started. And just make sure so the rod will go in there. And get it lined up. Sorry, my hand's in the way. And just get it pushed in there. And take a screwdriver and push it in all the way. Now we got to put that snap ring in there. We'll use a bent needle nose on this one. Now my hands are so fat. It's hard doing these small little things. Just take your time. I got started and just make sure it's all the way in that groove. And see, good thing I checked because it wasn't in the groove all the way. Try some different needle nose here. Now you got to make sure it's in that groove. Spin it around and it's locked in there. Okay. Go and push your piston in. And the two back bolts are the hardest to put in. So on the two back ones, I like to put them in. The front ones are easy to get to. Bring it around. Just like so. Intake boot. Let's go ahead and wrap it around there. Like a 90-degree little tool works great on that. Something like this. Yeah, that side's on. Okay. Now we can go ahead and start them bolts and tighten them up. Okay, I got all the bolts started and snug. You just want to make sure they're all nice and tight. Okay, now I can install the muffler and stuff, but like I said, you can never use too much, so I'm going to spray a little WD-40 where the spark plug goes. And just for now, I'm just going to set the new one in there, just, loose. You don't want no debris or anything getting in there. And just spin the flywheel. You can see the piston going up and down in there. Just make sure them rings are nice and lubricated. And it's very important. You can barely see, but that arrow, always make sure that arrow on that piston is facing the exhaust. Put it in the wrong way if you have it facing the intake. Well, where the piston rings come together, if you have it on the intake side, come up on like one of the open ports, like either on the exhaust or the intake, it won't be on a solid part of the wall, and they'll just break off. So always make sure that arrow is pointing towards the exhaust. Very important. And that goes up there nice and easy. So, well, anyways, another thing, always make sure that primer hose for the carburetor, make sure you put it on that little brass little nipple sticking out. Make sure your hose clamp thing is on there good. And I guess I forgot to tell you, an easy trick. This is on an old pair of pliers. But if you make like a little groove on each side, it catches that, and it's a lot easier to control that clamp right there. You know, just a little suggestion. You know, they do make tools for it, but like I said, you're doing this in your garage or your basement or whatever. Why spend the money on all this stuff if you're only gonna probably do it once or twice? You know, you could just do it at home will save you so much money. I'm not cutting down no shop at all, but this day and age, if you can save money, you know, that's the best thing to do. But anyways, I'm gonna put the muffler on, put the side cover on, put the top on. I'm not gonna tape that because you saw me take it off. It's just everything opposite putting it back on. But I'll turn the camera back on and we'll put gas in it and fire it off. You just put it together, and all I gotta do is put the gas and oil in it. That way I can show you I haven't even tried starting the thing yet. A little back pressure in that gas can. And on any saw, if you're putting gas in it, always put bar oil in it because you never want to run your oil pump out of oil. You'll burn it up. So every time you fill the gas, fill the oil. Okay, I got the decompression button pushed in. Put it on. Push power bulb to get the gas circulating. Put the choke on. And I'm just gonna start it up to show that it runs, but when I'm done filming this, I'm gonna start it up. I'm gonna take it outside to break it in. You kind of like run it for like 30 seconds at about a quarter aisle, then let it idle. Do that a few times and go to like half throttle, down to idle, just to break everything before you just hammer on full blast. You know, just kind of breaks everything in. So. Okay, it pops, so I'll take the choke off. Runs perfect, but I'm going to take it outside and break it in real quick. But anyways, appreciate you watching the videos. If you like my videos, please subscribe and press the like button. Anyways, you guys have a good afternoon.